Hello everyone, it's Christina from Our Wood Home. Today I'm taking you on my September garden tour for my vegetable gardens. As you can see, this one's pretty overgrown. My allergies have been bothering me since beginning of August, so I haven't been out as much. So what you're seeing in the first few rows is pretty much just weeds. There are 3 rows of tomato plants, but everything else is a weed that I just haven't had time to deal with lately. But as you can see, our tomato plants are doing really well. Some of them are pretty scraggly, so we won't be doing those varieties next year. I think we'll just stick to 2 or 3 varieties that we know produce a really high yield. But this has been an interesting experience with the different varieties of tomatoes because now we know what does well in our area and with our soil and what doesn't. We've pretty much been harvesting every few days, getting a nice quantity. I've been canning them, making them into soups, and my husband's been eating them on his sandwiches. I don't remember the types of tomatoes off the top of my head, but I do have a master list in my homemaking binder, so I consult that if I'm curious about which plant is doing really well. But as you can see, they are quite tall, quite bushy. The branches have kind of sprawled out of their cages and they're crossing over into the other plants. It's a jungle in here. And this is after I've pruned several times. They've just taken off. You can see how thick the base of this plant is. It's like a shrub or a tree or something. It's crazy. A lot of people ask me, what is my secret to growing these big plants? Well, we do prune them a lot, as you can see where I'm pointing out some places that we've pruned, but we also didn't do a vegetable garden last year, so I think giving the soil a break helped. I'm just pointing out here some leaf damage from hornworms, but let me get back to my trade secrets, if you will. So we filled our garden with chicken manure, and we dug out about 6 inches in their outdoor pen, just because that soil was rich in organics and decomposing matter. So we mixed that into our vegetable garden, and then we put our plants in and then did a really, really thick layer of mulch. I think next year I'm going to have to invest in better tomato cages because even my heavy-duty cages have suffered under the weight of these plants. See, they're just sprawling all over the place. It's going to be a challenge when we go to seed save because we'll have to make sure that we're really paying attention to where the vines are so that we label our seeds correctly. Because as I said, some varieties did better than others this year. I apologize in advance for the weird size of this clip. I somehow accidentally recorded it sideways and then had to rotate it in my editing software. But anyways, our apple trees are doing pretty well. There were a lot more apples in the spring, but they just didn't make it. So now I think we've got 8 apples total, maybe. Earlier in the summer, we found 2 from this tree on the ground. They weren't even ripe yet, so we think maybe the tree was just really, really thirsty. It had been a pretty dry spell, so we watered it, and we haven't had any issues. I accidentally let my lettuce get to seed. I don't mind about that though, because I would like to save the seeds. The lettuce did pretty well, and the cabbage that was there, I did end up pulling it out, which I think I addressed in a previous video. Now you can see a nice wide shot of our yard. We moved our composters, which I think I talked about in a previous video. We've got our wood stored, so we're doing all right. We're a bit ahead of schedule, which is nice. Having these lattice trellis things around the garden really helped with wind, and I think that's another reason our plants grew so big, because they didn't have any wind damage. So this garden is pretty much a write-off. I have a shovel there because my dog Bet was running in and she trampled my rhubarb plant. So I wanted to save it, and the shovel was my way of doing that. So I did have snow peas here as well, but Bet trampled those because there was a little mouse in the window well behind the frame there, and she really wanted to get to it. My bean plants are doing not that great. I'll probably just end up saving the beans just to dry them out. I won't eat them raw or cooked. I think just drying them will work best this time. There's a little baby tomato plant that I put there on a whim. It's probably not going to get any fruit, but I liked seeing it grow anyways. And this little area is my herb garden. I do have some things that aren't herbs, which again, I addressed in a previous video, but overall, they're doing pretty well. I got basil, 2 basil plants and a spearmint plant from the grocery store. They were pretty wilty, so they were discounted, but I just put them in the garden and they grew nicely. I've been harvesting herbs a lot and just drying them to use throughout the winter. I'm just showing you my chickens because people seem to love seeing the chickens. They're pretty cute, they're entertaining. Yeah, people just like to see them. So this is in the morning before I let them out. They've got this enclosure that has a door so that they can come out on their own first thing in the morning. And we built them another enclosure over the summer. It's just temporary with some green garden fencing and caning. And it's adjustable so we can alter the size and the configuration of their outdoor enclosure, and they've really liked it. People ask me why we don't let them out free range, and that's because we have birds of prey here, and we also don't have fences separating our property from our neighbors, and we don't want our chickens wandering away into somebody else's yard or even towards the road. So this enclosure is a great compromise because they've got lots of space to run around, they can forage, they can have dust baths, they can eat bugs like they're doing right now, and just generally have a great time, but still be safe. That's a new planter my husband and father-in-law built for me. I didn't put anything in it yet because it's kind of late in the summer to be doing that when they built it, but I'm going to be doing some climbing plants, vegetable plants there in the spring. Over here on our patio, in our planter boxes, I've got tomato, and it has some little green tomatoes on it. I can't remember what variety this is though. There was a little squirrel eating tomatoes before they ripened, but it hasn't been coming around lately, so that's good. My cucumber plants are dying off. The leaves are shrivelly, the vine's getting pretty brown, but there's still a few cucumbers hanging on. Similar to my vegetable garden, I haven't been weeding at all. Like I said, my allergies are awful. I can't go outside without getting all stuffy and sneezy and itchy, so I've been neglecting my planters as well. But there are a fair number of little peppers that are not quite ripe yet. These are just cayennes, which I'm going to dry and then grind up to have cayenne powder to use in soups and stews and stuff over the winter. The dill that I grew from seed has done pretty well. I think I overestimated the amount of dill that I would need for pickles and such, but I'm going to keep planting it because it's a nice plant. I think the bees like it, and I read that you can plant it with other crops to keep pests away. This is just my patio swing that we had to take down because it kept falling over in the wind. So my broccoli is doing pretty well. I accidentally let this one flower, and my friend Lauren told me not to eat it after it flowers, so I'm just going to save the seeds. I recently harvested the rest of the broccoli to use in a soup, and it was really good. I'm quite pleased with how the broccoli did here, considering how there was leaf damage there from little insects, but it was a good crop to do, so I think I'm going to do that again next year. Probably in this planter again. I'm going to be taking out all the flowers from this planter and just having them as vegetables. You can see these cucumber plants are really rough. I filmed this video beginning of September, maybe. It's now September 14th when I'm doing this voiceover, and the plant is looking much more shrivelly now. I do have a few little cucumbers that have been ripening, so hopefully they finish ripening before the vine dies completely. But overall, I'm quite pleased with the cucumber plants, and I'll definitely be doing that again next year. I want to know if you guys do cucumbers, and if you do you have them as climbing plants, or do you just let them grow along the ground? I hope you guys enjoyed that video. I'll probably do another garden update maybe in October or November. It really depends on when we get a frost and when all of our plants have to be harvested, or all of our vegetables have to be harvested. But until then, I hope that you will take a look around the rest of my YouTube channel, and if you like what you see, please consider subscribing. I also wanted to give a quick shout out to my husband, who is undoubtedly watching this video because I recently found out he subscribes to my YouTube channel. If you notice the audio on this video is considerably better than all the others, that is due to my husband, who gifted me with a nice fancy microphone to do my voiceovers. Previously, I had been using some old headphones with a microphone attachment, like something that a telemarketer would wear or something, and it was not great quality. The headphones are awesome, but the microphone part just wasn't that great, so he gave me this microphone, and I think it is awesome. So again, thank you to my husband. I thanked him in person, but I just wanted to do a YouTube shout out as well. Anyways, I think I've rambled enough. I've got some more videos to edit. Thank you guys for sticking around, and I hope you have a great rest of the day.